Hi everyone. We're looking at Adobe Audition for the first time, and just as a reminder, I am looking at Mac OS 10 version of this. There are no differences between the Windows PC version and the Mac, except for a few visual interface things. Like I said, you can see my cursors hovering over this. You would not see this in the Windows PC version, but the menu above Audition is the same. File, Edit, Multitrack, Clip, Effects, Favorites, View, Window, and Help. Now when you open Adobe Audition for the first time, there are a lot of different what they call workspace interfaces that they have for you. The default is this one that you're looking at now. So a lot on the screen, but remember, this overall interface is consistent with other Adobe applications. And if you've worked with Photoshop or InDesign or Illustrator or something like that before, you'll probably notice that there are some things that are shared between all of those programs. The thing that I want to really point out here is that Adobe Audition, the way that the interface looks, is built up of these things called panels. And these panels here, I'm going to point to them here with my cursor. There's lots of different panels that are available in the view of your workspace. For instance, this levels here is a panel, and when you click on it, it'll highlight that panel as blue. So we can think of these panels as movable and customizable. You can see that the editor panel, this is where we're going to view the waveform. We'll be doing editing a single sound file here, the mixer panel, and so forth. Favorites, files, you have a media browser panel, an effects rack panel, markers, and so forth. Within these panels here, you have multiple panels within what they call a frame. And this is very similar to other Adobe interfaces. You can see I'm clicking on all of these. The media browser, effects rack, markers, properties, all of these are housed within the same space of the interface. So this is a panel, and all four of these panels are within this square frame here. If you go up to Window, you can see that in Workspace you have kind of set workspaces that have already been designed for certain types of working environments. Classic, we're on the default. This should probably be the one that opens up when you open up Adobe. Editing audio with video, mastering and analysis, radio production, and so forth. If you ever go in and you decide to change this, or you've made some changes to the workspace that you're working with, you can always reset that. For instance, if I click on Classic, you'll see that the interface has changed. Essentially what that means is that all the panels that are in the interface are arranged in a different way. Okay, I'm going to go back to the default just for a second. Now, Adobe Audition, like Audacity, it's of course there's a lot more things that you can do in Adobe Audition, and it's meant for slightly different things too. But it works with audio files, right? If you go to the File menu, you simply open a sound file. Just like in Audacity, if you're importing an audio file, this is how you bring audio into the program. I have this Wendy Carlos one. This will be on Blackboard, as you'll see. This sound file here, going to click on and hit open, and that will automatically open the sound file in what's called the editor panel. Okay, so just like you would open this sound file in Audacity, in just one single window, here it's put within this thing called a panel. And within this giant frame here, you've got the mixer panel as well. We'll talk about this later, but not right now, because the mixer is specifically used for multi-track sessions. And what that means is you're dealing with multiple audio files at the same time. Right now we're just working with one. A couple of things here. You'll notice that the transport window, like in Audacity, you recognize these symbols down here. See, you've got the stop, play, pause, move the playhead all the way to the far left or the beginning, rewind, fast forward, which is actually different than Audacity. We don't have these options in Audacity. Go to the very end, record, loop playback, and so forth. So there's a lot more detail here. By simply hitting play.
Do you remember the two-part invention number 1 in C major on switched on Bach?
You can see that it's very similar to Audacity in that way. If I hit the space bar on my keyboard,
of course not, because that piece never made it to the final master.
You can see it's the same idea, right? Those are really universal shortcuts with a lot of audio editing programs. There's a couple of things that we should know right off the bat. If you're working with a workspace that you think is comfortable, and of course I'm actually on a laptop right now, so my screen is a little bit smaller and things are a little bit condensed, but that's okay. I can always change that. I'm going to go into the classic workspace for a second. And you'll notice that the way that this interface works with all of these panels, if you need to save space, you can actually click and drag panels into a frame. So I'm going to take this time one. So you can see that this is the time of my sound file. If I hit spacebar and play,
well, another invention, the one
we're looking at a time clock right here. See that? But say I don't really need to look at this right now. I'm going to click and then drag this. Whoops! I'm going to grab it right here where it says time and drag it over into the transport window. And you can see now both time and transport are shared in the same frame. See how that works? I can do the same thing with the zoom tools, right? Like that, and then make a frame between time and zoom. This is a way to save space. So if I want to move things up or down or to the right, I'm clicking and dragging on the boundaries of the frame. But notice while you do that, you're actually covering up other frames as well. This frame right here, files, this is what I'm actually looking at now. This sound file is what I'm looking at in the editing window, right? In this entire, this panel. In this frame, I've got 3 different panels, an effects rack and a favorites rack, which we'll talk about later. But just so we see this, I just wanted to give you a sense of how to kind of customize a workspace. Now there's a lot of stuff going on here which I'll cover in the next video, but just if you can get used to that and try to see what workspace environment looks the most comfortable. I'm going to recommend that you work with default or classic right away. There's no need to actually work with the template workspace audio to video if you're not working with video. Okay, if I'm going to go back to default here, and I don't remember exactly how it opened, so I'm going to go back to reset to default, and it's going to look exactly like it did when I opened it for the first time. And I can still click and drag these panels so that I can see it better. If you go into the window file menu up above, you can see that you can open up these other set panels, and there's many of them that are not checked right now. So for instance, if I want to look at the effects rack, which is not a part of the default workspace that I'm working with now, I'm going to click on that, and then it opens up there. See, so the media browser, which is a great way to open up multiple files at the same time. And this is going to be really helpful when we're working with multi-track projects. By simply going up to the window file, I've opened that panel up in its frame. Okay, so this will be great when we start to add effects to individual audio files at the same time. Okay.